children ran from their South American village, expanding their game into the rainforest. Their playing caused animals to flee and scattered birds, but a river silenced the sweaty children. Standing along the tree line, the cool flowing water mesmerized them. One of the boys leapt towards the riverbank, stating their game now included the river. The children worried as the threat of disobeying their parents by going to the river filled their minds. Several of them yelled for the boy to return. He froze yards from the river and noticed a bunch of leaves floating in the middle of the river didn't drift downstream. Yelling erupted behind the children as a parent rounded them up and hurried them back to the village. While leaving, some of the youngsters saw the floating leaves submerge and swim away. The leaves was Chile's aquatic tiger monster, El Cuero. And this is Legends from the Pacific. Aloha, and thank you for joining us. This is Legends from the Pacific, episode 24, Chile's aquatic tiger monster, El Cuero. I am Kamuela Kaneshiro. Listeners, sign up for our newsletter at legendsfromthepacific.com to be the first to hear about our dedicated episodes of my paranormal investigations and experiences, which will be released in the next couple of months. Later in this episode, shout out to some of our fans, your featured song and Hawaiian word, but first, El Cuero. Located in Chile and Argentina's rivers, lakes, and lagoons is El Cuero. El Cuero was first mentioned in Father Juan Ignacio Molina's 1810 essay on natural history of Chile, and has been compared to a stingray with a barbless tail. It can be up to 5 feet wide, weigh around 65 pounds, and its eyes are on stalks like a snail. Its skin looks like cowhide or leather, which is how it received its name because El Culero translates to the leather or hide. It attacks animals and people by wrapping around its prey, then uses its sharp claws along its fringe to secure its victim, while its proboscis-like tongue sucks its prey's blood and or organs. Locals have called El Culero an aquatic tiger because of its ferociousness. A popular story about El Culero involved a woman who lost her child to the creature while she was washing clothes beside the river. Many feel another creature known as the Huque is so similar to the El Culero that many consider them the same creature. It's relatively easy to kill an El Culero by simply tossing some cactus into the water beside the creature. So when El Culero attacks the cactus, it ends up stabbing itself to death. Still to come, shout out to some of our fans, your featured song and Hawaiian word, but now, a story. The following is a Legends from the Pacific original story, and is based on cultural testimony. He didn't expect to spend day one of his Amazon forest honeymoon washing out their tent. He snarled at his botched attempt of surprising his new wife with some of her favorite junk food. But the sticky, smashed mess of Twinkies and Ho-Hos needed to be cleaned before the giant red ants got to it, and they resumed their forest trek. He thought he'd run into their guide going to the river, but their guide must have gone somewhere else. stepping into the river sent a chill up his leg. He dove in with his tent to get over the chilling sensation. He surfaced and was happy seeing the messy cakes wash from the tent. While rinsing the heavy canvas, he was remembering how their wedding cake tasted like ho-hos when the tent seemed to engulf him. He pushed the canvas back, but it was heavy and something dense was beyond the fabric. He fumbled as the tent seemed to be wrapping around him. His knees buckled as he fell onto them and hit the underwater rocks beneath him. Water rushed around him as he was pushed below the water's surface, but an air pocket filled in the space around his head. He blew away water while fighting to stand. The thing beyond the canvas flailed like a fish as something circular pressed against the tent and his hands. He kept pushing until the weight slid from the tent and splashed away. He tossed the tent and looked around. Near him, his guide with a drawn machete startled the man, and he jumped back. His guide yelled at him while his wife yelled from the shore. The man regained his bearings and understood they were telling him to get out of the water. His crying wife embraced him on the riverbank while their guide examined him. The man was fine. His sobbing wife explained how a stingray attacked him. Their guide sheathed his machete, looked for a cactus, but couldn't find any, and said they needed to walk towards an area to contact his company for a plane since the couple couldn't continue their trek without their tent. The man wanted to retrieve their tent, but their guide refused, explaining an El Cuero was what attacked the man, and he was lucky to be alive. They returned to the camp and didn't see the El Cuero resurface beside the submerged tent and drift down river. Coming up, shout out to some of our fans, your featured song and Hawaiian word. Listeners, please tell your friends and family about our show and utilize our shareable excerpts on social media by reposting them to your profile or sending them to others. The El Cuero reminds me a lot of the bunyip, in the sense that they're trying to warn children to stay away from waterways. However, many are still scared of the El Cuero, even as an adult. Today, there's a city in Texas named Cuero, which claims to be the unofficial Turkey capital, and El Cuero is the name of a Norwegian rock band. There hasn't been many El Cuero sightings, but reputable locals swear to have seen it and blame the creature for unexplained drownings. Scientists have also claimed El Cuero might be a predatory stingray. If you like what you heard, please give us a rating, write a review, and share Legends from the Pacific with your friends and family. I'd really appreciate it. Mahalo to Poems by Cheyenne for sharing us on social media, and Brave Ash for reposting our shareable excerpts. Brave Ash. That reminds me of Ash from Evil Dead, who I've dressed as for Halloween, which delighted friends that said I have Bruce Campbell similarities. But I digress. Our theme song is Mystery by Tavana, courtesy of High Sessions. Sound effects are by Sound Effects Factory. Our music coordinator is Matt Duffy, aka DJ TripleBypass. Links and show notes can be found on our website, legendsfromthepacific.com, including a link to your featured song, which is Familiar Strangers by R. Vaughn, courtesy of High Sessions. Legends from the Pacific was written, produced, and edited by me, Kamuela Kaneshiro. I also wrote our original stories. Your featured Hawaiian word is kahavai. Kahavai means river or stream. An example for kahavai is heavy rains can cause kahavai to overflow and flood. Once again, kahavai is Hawaiian for river or stream. As a side note, kahavai is also the name of an Australian salmon. Thank you once again for listening. Mahalo and ahui ho.
Get in the way. been here before.